I have prompter, please? Zach? Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this look at the best original reporting from KPBS News this week. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and in this broadcast, we'll take a look at how special needs students are navigating the return to campus. What kind of help are they getting now, and how did some benefit from distance learning? Back home in El Cajon, local families who were forced to evacuate Afghanistan in recent days talk about a nerve-wracking experience. And saving the Seau Amphitheater, the push to preserve part of the former football star's legacy in Oceanside. COVID-19 is re-emerging as the dominant story locally. If the spike in case numbers wasn't enough, public leaders are dealing with an increasingly hostile job fueled by misinformation. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman tells us how a divided board of supervisors is calling it out.
The resolution says misinformation surrounding coronavirus is prolonging the pandemic and potentially deadly for San Diegans. During a marathon board meeting Tuesday night, the region's largest healthcare providers spoke in favor of it.
Misinformation is a poison to our communities, and it is having a ripple effect in our hospitals. We have a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
This is about taking a more active role in developing resources to combat misinformation in order to help our community make informed health choices.
There were just over 170 public speakers on the resolution, majority against it, claiming it infringes on their First Amendment rights.
If this passes tonight, the sun will come up in the morning and everyone who's here will still have the exact same ability to speak out and to say whatever it is you would like to say. But if this passes tonight, our county will be on record calling out misinformation for what it is.
The resolution directs county staff to be more aggressive in combating misinformation, some of which was heard during the board meeting.
And I think the first thing that you can do is get rid of this notion that that Pfizer vaccine has been approved by the FDA. It has not, and I can give you the letter if you like it.
Everybody with a clue knows that these COVID tests are absolutely irrelevant.
Well, it's a biotoxin. It's a bioweapon.
An experimental gene therapy. I mean, it's like you could call it so many things. It's not even a vaccine.
Some question who gets to decide what misinformation is and claim that the pandemic is being made up or exaggerated.
It's all been a big plot. This is a huge scam.
You're creating a crisis that isn't there.
Why do you care who dies? Wouldn't that be kind of a blessing? There's too many people on the planet, right? Let people die. Let that process take place.
Others were there to voice their concerns about vaccine mandates.
We don't want it at all. We just want to have that choice to opt out.
The board was split.
None of us want to see our neighbors die, or our family, or our friends, but I don't know how you stop misinformation or free speech, and nor would I want to.
Supervisors ultimately voted 3-2 to adopt the resolution.
I believe that the masks work. I believe that the vaccine works. I believe that we have. And so I am not going to back down from doing what I believe is right.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
KPBS.org has many resources to keep you informed during the pandemic. We have all of our local stories and updated numbers from the county and the state. You can also find a nearby testing or vaccine location. It's all on our Tracking COVID-19 section. Just click the link on our homepage. This week, KPBS reporter Melissa May checked in on Father Joe's Villages in downtown San Diego. The nonprofit already has its hands full trying to help those experiencing homelessness. Now, a spike in COVID-19 is complicating their mission.
Father Joe's Villages says just under 100 cases of COVID-19 were reported at its 2 shelters as of last week. To protect the uninfected, the agency set up a temporary tent outside its East Village campus to isolate patients until they could be moved to hotels. Vaccination rates have been low among people experiencing homelessness due to general mistrust in and poor past experiences with the healthcare system. Father Joe's Villages is working to combat this issue with consistent follow-up, on-site vaccination, and one-on-one conversations. In a written statement, Father Joe's president and CEO, Jim Vargas, says we continue to prioritize the health and well-being of those we serve and encourage vaccination. As an organization, we will continue to strictly implement health protocols designed to limit the spread of the virus and equip our staff and clients with health and safety services. The county health department says over 10,000 people experiencing homelessness have received at least 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Sarah Sweeney, the agency's communications officer, told KPBS in an email, "We are housing people affected in this outbreak in our public health hotels and are providing a variety of services to any of those isolating in shelters. Further, we have plans in place to expand its hotel capacity if needed." Melissa May, KPBS News.
San Diego's biggest school district just wrapped up its first week back on campus. This was the scene Monday morning at Mira Mesa High School. Everyone is wearing masks in and out of the classroom. The school is also allowing mask breaks at times when people are properly distanced. All of our back-to-school coverage in San Diego and across the county can be streamed anytime on the KPBS YouTube page. The COVID shutdown was especially challenging for kids with special needs. They're returning to classes in person after more than a year away from their teachers and their friends. KPBS education reporter MG Perez introduces us to one mother determined to make sure her son gets a proper education.
Alejandro Blanco is a good speller. He can write his mother's phone number, too. That's something he's learned with her help right here at their dining room table.
I know I had to take care of my son. And since then, I love my son with all my heart. And I've been his mommy and do everything that is in my power for him to be okay.
Maria Lopez is a single mother raising her son with some help from his grandmother, who he calls Mom. Maria is his mommy. Alejandro likes to be called Alex. Monday morning, he joined other students in San Diego Unified for the first day of school. He is now a freshman at Madison High School, and on September 9th, he turns 14 years old. His mother remembers the delight and the distress of the day he was born, when the doctor gave her the news.
Me, I was like hoping that he was fine, and I see him. When I saw him, he was so beautiful. He told me that he has Down syndrome. So I always ask God, like, I hope my son, he only had like a little bit.
With the Down syndrome diagnosis, Alex has received special education support and therapy throughout his elementary and middle school years. That includes an annual individual education program called an IEP. That's a federal legal document that outlines goals and services for each student with special needs. Regular meetings for parents and teachers are part of the program. The COVID shutdown forced teachers to scramble to hold IEP meetings online or by phone.
I think they thought the federal government was going to come in and give them a pass for all of this.
Jennifer Rail taught special education for 30 years. Now she's a professional special education advocate who supports parents during IEP meetings with school administrators and teachers.
Really, parents just want to know where their kids are at, if they've regressed during this time, if they've made progress with virtual learning. They just want answers.
This fall, San Diego Unified is offering online learning through its Virtual Academy program and will also offer a choice of online or in-person IEP meetings. While Alex made some progress while learning at home, his mother is happy that he's at Madison High School now, where he has friends.
I want the best for him. And I know he can learn a lot. If you work with him, I know he can do a lot of things, and he can be be successful for his and for later on.
Yes.
Show us what you got, Alex.
Later on for this young man means after he turns 21 and ages out of the school support system as an adult. While that's 7 years away for Alex, Maria Lopez says every semester counts. She feels most comfortable expressing the love for her son in her first language.
Lo adoro, es todo para mí. Es un amor incondicional, un amor tan grande que yo siento por él.
Love modeled and learned in the most important lesson of all. MG Perez, KPBS News.
One of our school districts in East County is keeping a close eye on the situation in Afghanistan. Several of their families safely evacuated and are back in El Cajon sharing their experience. Alexander Rangel has more on an international story that quickly became local.
Why you guys are leaving Afghanistan? Why you guys not staying here with us?
Those were the interrogations the Taliban asked Mohammed Faizi as he tried to cross the Taliban gate to go to the airport with his wife and 5 children in hand. His family is one of the 8 families from Cajon Valley School District that traveled to Afghanistan over summer break. After being stranded there following the Taliban's takeover, the 8 families sought help from the school district and Congressman Daryl Issa's office to come back home.
Let's see our family, because this will be last chance that we will be able to see our family.
Faizi wasn't expecting the Taliban to enter Kabul until August 31st, the day U.S. troops were set to evacuate. Although Faizi and his family made it back home, the Cajon Valley School District says 3 of their students are still in Afghanistan and need help. On Thursday, Congressman Issa met with the families he helped bring back and made a call to action. He says hundreds of American citizens and SIV holders remain to be helped.
We have a responsibility, having failed to give them a secular democracy that lasted.
The Cajon Valley School District Superintendent says they're hoping to soon be reunited with the 3 students that are still in Afghanistan. The families that made it back are grateful, but they ask that the door not be closed to their family and friends at risk.
Their life is in danger. They are not staying at one home at a time. They are moving every night to different places.
There's going to be a chaos coming. Before these things starts, we have to evacuate them as soon as possible.
Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
KPBS News will have more on the U.S. exit from Afghanistan in the days ahead. On Thursday night, KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh will host a special panel, Finding Meaning from the War in Afghanistan. It will be a live online discussion with veterans, a Gold Star parent, and those who have covered the war and its impact. You can reserve a spot for this free online event at kpbs.org. We saw a big interest in all things COVID-19 this week from our online audience. Our most read stories include an update on the legal trouble for a woman accused of striking a flight attendant during a flight to San Diego back in May. The city of San Diego is trying to get all of its workers vaccinated, but less than half have done so within the police department. And the story we had at the start of the top of this newscast, the county declaring misinformation a public health crisis, was one of our most read stories this week at kpbs.org. September 1st brought another due date for renters in San Diego. They're protected from evictions thanks to state and local moratoriums, but that money needs to be paid eventually. John Carroll has details on more money that's being freed up to help.
It is among the most basic of human needs, having a roof over your head, a place to call home. The news that the Supreme Court ruled President Biden could not extend a federal eviction moratorium needn't worry Californians for now, because a state moratorium on evictions is in place that lasts through the end of next month. Here in San Diego County, help for renters is getting beefed up.
So the county is starting two new programs.
That's Nick Martinez, the acting assistant director at the county's Department of Housing and Community Development Services. One of the new programs is aimed squarely at so-called mom and pop landlords.
If their tenants were over income or if some other reason they weren't able to access these other programs, these small landlords, these small mom and pop landlords are able to access this program. and get assistance with their rent.
There are a few criteria landlords have to meet. The property has to be in the county, and the owner must be a county resident. The landlord can't own more than 5 rental units, and tenants have to be at least 3 months past due on their rent.
The second program that the county is starting is a security deposit assistance program for low and moderate income renters.
For this one, renters must meet certain income limits, sign a lease of 6 months or longer, and the payments will be made directly to the landlord. The amount available is limited to 2 months' rent, up to a maximum of $7,000.
And at the end of the rent, at the end of the term, if that security deposit gets released back to the tenant has that for their next security deposit.
The landlord program begins on September 1st, and the security deposit one begins on September 3rd. Applicants will have 2 weeks to apply, and if there's any money left over after that, more applications will be accepted. These programs aren't replicated in any other rental assistance programs, so they're available to anyone in the county. Go to sdhc.org or call 858-694-4801 for more information and to apply. John Carroll, KPBS News.
A South Bay brewery that was singled out over its outdoor dining area is celebrating a victory. Melissa May tells us how they're back up and running thanks to supporters who raised their voices.
Just a few weeks ago, the owner of Chula Vista Brewery was ordered to take down his parklet, an outdoor dining space, and questioned why his neighbors could keep theirs. Today,
the city of Chula Vista has granted Timothy Parker and the Chula Vista Brewery a new parklet space. And today we have a lot to be proud of in that regard.
Shane Harris is the president of the People's Association of Justice Advocates and helped file the original claim against the city of Chula Vista. Today was considered a win for everyone involved.
What we plan on doing and moving forward is just going to be an awesome addition to the brewery, and I have to thank everybody involved for helping me do this.
Timothy Parker is the owner of Chula Vista Brewery and is grateful that the city is giving him a permit for an outdoor space to complement his new food truck.
The National Black Contractors Association already has plans to relocate these plants and create a handicap-accessible deck that will add up to 30 additional seats and be an extension of the brewery.
This will restore opportunities for this business to sustain its economic sustainability. And one of the things that we are so proud to do is that we're developing or working with the architects and the owners to design something that's aesthetically enhancing to this community.
Abdurrahim Hamid is the president of the National Black Contractors Association and says building this outdoor space turns what could have been a tragedy of injustice into a showpiece of justice. The brewery is also getting $15,000 in COVID relief funds from a city program to help local businesses build parklets. Melissa May, KPBS News.
We're now 1 year away from Aztec football returning to Mission Valley. Those behind the new Aztec Stadium posted a save the date tweet for September 3rd, 2022. That's when the first SDSU football game is scheduled in their new home. The team will play one more season in Carson, starting this weekend against New Mexico State. The name Junior Seau will always be synonymous with football here in San Diego. In his hometown of Oceanside, there's much more to the former Chargers' legacy, including a decades-old amphitheater that bears his name. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne tells us how the Seau family is trying to save it.
Mary Seau thinks of her brother Junior whenever she walks the Oceanside Strand.
I can feel the spirit down here, freedom, joy, happiness. Just excited to be around the people.
In 2012, the Junior Seau Amphitheater and Community Center were named for the Oceanside native and pro football player. Since 1919, when the amphitheater was built, cultural celebrations and events have taken the amphitheater stage. But Oceanside Mayor Esther Sanchez says she's noticed a decrease in events and sports. She says COVID is part of the problem, but so is scheduling.
I've heard from a lot of voices from the community that it's really, really hard to get an event going here. You know, whether you're a nonprofit or a church or anyone, a private citizen wanting to have an event, it's always been very difficult, and I don't understand why.
So when the city presented a beachfront improvement study looking into the amphitheater and community center, Sanchez got concerned.
When the city decided, okay, let's go ahead and start looking at, say, include the beach community center, a lot of bells and whistles started going off in my head like, okay, great. Is this for the continued use of the youth and families? And I'm very concerned about where the direction this is heading.
Food vendors and bike rental companies are already operating outside the community center, and Sanchez worries more commercial activity will work its way into the public parkland. Rumors of demolishing the facilities and putting a parking structure in its place have started to swirl among the community. Dara Woods is a senior civil engineer with the city of Oceanside managing the project. She says it's just starting and no plans or proposals have been presented.
We know how important this area is to the city and the local community. That's why we really want to know what the public wants to see. There are city needs, but the public needs are just as important, and that's what we want to hear.
But Mary Seau is not taking her chances and has started a petition to make sure the facilities are saved.
What I would like to see is have them fix the problem, fix the broken walls, fix the stairs, the community center building. Have them fix it, but don't demolish it. This belongs to the city of Oceanside.
Other Oceanside residents have mixed opinions. Doug Boyd thinks it needs to be torn down.
I'd love to see it renovated and maybe have concerts here or something would be great. The other option, I think you see kids skateboarding here all the time. Maybe make a skate park for the kids to come down to. Same thing with the gym down there. I don't know if they ever use it anymore down there. So we're not. It's like prime property down here. Why don't they? I think it needs to be remodeled and something done with it.
Renovations would be very good. The destruction, though, I don't think is necessary.
That was Joey Daly, who runs a snack shack and bike rentals near the community center. And Oceanside resident Coco Brown had this observation.
Plus, it's historical. This is what we know. So tearing this down, it'll just be problematic. Nobody wants to see that. I mean, it's a junior sale.
Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
One of San Diego's top theaters is giving the stage to underrepresented communities with the Latinx New Play Festival. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando speaks with 3 of the playwrights to find out what stories they wanted to tell.
Get ready for the Reps Latinx New Play Festival.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show you are about to see is a construct of fact and fantasy.
Artistic inspiration can come from many places, or just one.
Anger inspired me. That's what inspired me.
Playwright Rachel Lynette hit a boiling point after Jennifer Krug confessed to being a racial imposter.
And that deeply upset me because she was a white woman specifically pretending to be Afro-Latina. And I'm Afro-Latina, and I have had to fight and claw my way into just getting other people to recognize my identity. And all this white woman had to do was tan her skin.
That anger and frustration led to the play Black Mexican.
The short version, it's about a lot of big things, but the easiest way to say it is a student starts to question whether or not her professor is actually Cuban or not. Meanwhile, there is a Belizean character who's trying to figure out if she counts as part of the Latin identity as well. It's kind of an exploration of what does it mean to be part of this identity that encompasses so many different countries that are all so different. And also, who do we give access to our culture and who do we keep out and why?
Lynette specifically sets her play in a city she describes as one that thinks it's liberal, because that's another source of anger.
So I kind of really wanted to say, don't try to put this in a southern town where they don't know better. No, this is a liberal town where people claim to embrace diversity, and yet this still keeps happening.
But for Daniela de Jesus, it was Disney's Pocahontas and an epiphany she had that inspired her play, Get Your Pink Hands Off Me, Sucka, and Give Me Back.
I remember there's this moment in the 6th grade when I was learning about the colonization of the Caribbean and the Americas and learning how old Pocahontas probably actually was, that she was between the ages of 11 and 14. And me realizing that, I'm 11. And there's no way that me having a romantic relationship with a 30-year-old man is okay. That's messed up.
This led her to use her play to explore intergenerational trauma.
The idea that trauma that happened to an ancestor 3, 4, 5 or more generations ago can manifest as an anxiety attack or a particular insecurity is really interesting to me. I like to think that because of that, in a way that history is always happening, it's not in the past, it reverbs through what we're experiencing right now.
The past was a major source of inspiration for Nicholas R. Valdez's play, Conjunto Blues.
It's really kind of a nod, an ode, if you will, to my grandparents' generation. Coming out of this Depression-era experience really, I think, kind of created a pathway for a Mexican-American identity.
Informing that identity was conjunto music, which Valdez says was the origin of accordion-based Mexican-American music.
The accordion and conjunto music, I think, really is the soundtrack to the Mexican-American working class experience of the 20th century. When people listen to the accordion, I think it's very nostalgic. El acordeón es muy emocional. And it is a very expressive instrument in the way that it breathes. Listen to her breathe, eh? I learned early on to appreciate the instrument and to appreciate what it represented for the culture of San Antonio and for the Mexican-American community at large.
The instrument becomes a character in the play, which explores how conjunto music developed as an expression of cultural resistance and liberation. Valdez carries on that tradition of activism in his play, which was inspired by the legacy of Luis Valdez's Teatro Campesino.
And it's theater with a purpose, right? Like an urgency. And there's a magic that happens in that engagement in live theater. And it gives you an opportunity to address very serious issues, to ask really important and difficult questions, but in a way that is accessible and entertaining.
And that can provoke a conversation and inspire other people to tell their own stories. You can enjoy these stories as part of San Diego Rep's Latinx New Play Festival this weekend. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
A reminder that you can find all of our stories and COVID-19 resources at kpbs.org. It's all in our Tracking COVID section. All you have to do is click on the link that's on our homepage. We hope you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. Have a pleasant and safe Labor Day weekend. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Thanks for joining us.